Welcome back to Lost Legacies. I'm Matt.
And I'm Sam.
We hope you had a fantastic Thanksgiving weekend. Welcome to Cyber Monday. Support local business, wear your mask, use curbside delivery, and let's see next Thanksgiving all of us together alive.
Yes, please do.
Sam, what a Thanksgiving episode do we have? Everyone's fighting. There's a stabbing. Someone's suffocating. Oh, man. Your crazy uncle gives you a knife. Oh, man. This episode was made for Thanksgiving.
Really brings you together, you know?
Mm-hmm. So today we're talking about Lost, Season 1, Episode 8, Confidence Man. Essentially, Shannon somehow loses her last inhaler, and she starts going through crazy asthma attacks. So, of course, the whole island turns on Sawyer, believing that he has stole her inhalers. Stole her inhalers. Stolen her inhalers. He stole them all.
Oh, okay.
But, of course, Sawyer, being who he is, a self-destructive bastard, he's just antagonistic about everything, and he doesn't reveal the truth, which we find out later in the episode. And they even have to resort to violence and torture to get the truth from Sawyer. This episode was wild, but it had been building for a while. And I think we kind of teased that a little bit last week, saying how like each episode builds into the next, and how you go through these periods where Sawyer is the guy you love to hate because he's got this swagger and this charm, but every now and then he does something that's just like cruel.
Mm-hmm.
This was a huge, cruel episode from him, but also from everyone else's perspective. You know, when your life is on the line, you're literally fighting for everyone's survival. What do you do with this guy who is standing in your way? You know, so it's episode 8, and it's been building since episode 1 to get to this point, and measures were drastic. How do you feel about this one, Sam?
Well, this one was a lot. This one was intense.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we got to learn a lot of different things. Got to learn, you know, some limits that people had not previously surpassed, and in this episode, they were surpassed. And yeah, I don't know. I have to say, like, this show really does a good job of sort of giving you little snippets of people's pasts while also showcasing like who exactly they are, you know, on this island, you know. Jack's somebody who's like just going through so much, and you know that came to a point on the island. Kate is, you know, constantly trying to run away, and now she's sort of just stuck in this sort of leadership position on the island. So we've got, you know, we got all this stuff going on. Sawyer's is interesting because it seems like from the get-go he's always been this sort of sleazy guy. And that doesn't really change until I'd say like his final flashback this episode.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, we get to see a side of him that like, okay, I guess he does have a moral code. I still don't know what it is. So it's like while we're still a little bit unsure about some characters, I feel like this episode answered none of my questions about Sawyer.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just that like he's complicated, but we already knew that, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So this just adds another layer to his, I don't know, festive onion.
Yeah, there was no, unlike the previous episodes that focused on a character and their flashbacks, there was no real arc to this one.
Yeah,
like Sawyer's still the same person he was when they crashed. You know, he's still the same person he was before he got on that plane. And it's funny too because Kate confronts him, and I'll get more into Kate in a second. But for what she's doing on the island, she thinks she has this guy pegged. Like, I know who you are. I know guys like you, all this
Mhm.
stuff. And Sawyer's very much like, oh, you got no idea. And to a certain extent, he's right. But even at the end, Kate was right. There
Mhm.
is some kind of humanity in Sawyer, and we don't know exactly what it is. Something from his childhood. You know, he didn't go through with the con by the end of the episode because he found out that there was a kid involved. You know,
Mhm.
and then later it's revealed like, oh, he was also in that situation.
Mhm.
Um, so not much has really changed for Sawyer. There's no real character arc for him in this episode, but it's just kind of the audience is getting more of an understanding of him. But nothing's changed.
Yeah.
Actually, most of the character arc I think is belongs to other people. You know,
Yeah.
Kate is the last person who can judge anyone, but she's been judging Sawyer from the start,
Mhm.
and she kind of got put in her place. Like he was kind of scary this episode, especially when he's confronting her, and like Kate even has to take a step back, not because she was wrong, but it's almost like she was more right than she knew.
Mhm.
Like, okay, I know you're a bad guy, but the truth is like, oh, you have no idea how bad this guy is, you know.
Right.
So it was kind of nice to see that if any other character had been in that role, judging him and had been put in their place, it would have been fine. But the fact that it happened to Kate was special because she's the last person who should be judging, you
Mhm.
know?
Mhm.
And then Jack as well, he literally tells Kate at the beginning of the episode, we're not savages. But by the end, they're torturing him, you know, which
Yeah.
was a pretty brutal scene. It was very short, but Josh Holloway, you know, he delivered. So yeah, everyone goes through these little changes. The biggest one character arc would probably be Saeed,
Yeah.
because we've known he was a soldier. He's an Iraqi soldier, or he used to be. But this time, he happens to bring up that he's skilled in the ways of torture.
Yeah. He was a communications officer in that he was getting people to communicate to him
Right.
by extreme measures.
Yeah. Yeah. Lots of this is a dark episode. I think it's the darkest one so far. And it's definitely the one that it really put the distrust that everyone's feeling to the forefront. Um, for everyone, even Locke, Saeed. What do you think about that scene when Saeed approaches Locke, saying like he's the prime suspect who attacked him last week?
Yeah, that was an interesting scene. Uh I just Terry O'Quinn, I love you, but I know it's you. I know you're the guy that knocked out Saeed, okay? You have the look, the way you're playing it. You're just no, I'm sorry, man. Locke is the one that knocked out Saeed. I am standing by that. I will
It's
die
it,
on this hill.
it's so crazy too because how quickly that conversation turned. Like I had to go back and watch that scene again because it's a pretty short scene, but
Mm-hmm.
it's just like one or two sentences in, and Locke has already fed Saeed enough info about Sawyer
Yeah,
that we think it's Sawyer. It's like, oh,
yeah,
as of this point, who knows? Maybe you're right, Sam. Maybe it was Locke. If it was, he's very manipulative, which we have definitely seen several times before.
yep.
Um, and if it's not, nothing really changes. Locke is still kind of no nonsense. Like, hey, it's this guy. You
Mhm.
know?
I mean, that's kind of like the first thing about mysteries, about like solving any sort of mystery. It's like, okay, uh yes, you take into account everybody's alibis, but you also have to think who gains the most out of the situation.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I think there are a few people who gain the most out of the situation, and that would be Kate, who we know couldn't have knocked out Saeed because she was in the caves trying to help get Jack out from under the rubble, and Locke, who before crashing on the island was in a wheelchair and was unable to walk.
Mm-hmm.
And after crashing on the island, is able to walk.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think Locke is in any sort of hurry to get off of that island. And I don't think he's going to let anybody, A, try and convince him otherwise, and B, just jeopardize his chances of figuring out why he was put there, why he was given this gift.
The way last episode was shot, the timing and everything, it's a real stretch to try and get the audience to believe it was Sawyer.
Mm-hmm.
All the other things Sawyer has done, yeah, kind of leads you to think maybe it was him, but the way it worked out, and from what they showed us and the info they gave us, it looks really hard for it to have been Sawyer, even if he did like use a cigarette or whatever to delay the bottle rocket.
Yeah.
So it's tough. It's I don't know. That's one of those things, like, I might have felt differently the first time I watched it. I honestly don't remember. But yeah, I mean, it seems pretty obvious, like, no, that wasn't Sawyer. So
Yeah.
who knows? I really wish there was more to talk about this episode about Sawyer. But the thing is, it wasn't, as far as him as a character goes, it wasn't anything new. It was just what we have already seen, but elevated to a more frightening level. You know,
Yeah.
like, look how far he's willing to go. Not even to prove that he's right. It's just to push people's buttons. You
Yeah.
know, he got, like, he won by getting tortured. He saw the doctor become savage. He brought he's always calling Saeed these racist names and saying he's a terrorist, and he brought that side out of him, the torturer, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And then the one thing he's willing to give up the information for is a kiss from Kate. He knows exactly what buttons to push for everyone. It's because he's a con man, which of
Yeah.
course we find out now in his flashbacks that that's what he does. He cons people, and it's interesting because in the flashbacks he talks about women being easy to con and men are a little harder, but you need to give them like confidence.
Mm-hmm.
And it's fascinating to see how he's using that same mentality on the island.
Yeah.
It's like, ah, oh, damn. So
let's talk about the kiss for a minute.
Okay. Yeah.
I know nothing about the history of Lost. I know nothing about the production team going on behind it. Any of that. I don't know who I know that what's his name? Lindelof is there.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think he wrote this episode, but I'm sure they still had, like a staff of writers, a team of writers. But I just have to say, I don't think, at least in this season, or at least in this particular episode, I don't think there were any women on that writing team, because that is 100%. That kiss is just 100% something that a dude would write. To be like, yeah, this is the only way Sawyer's gonna break. This is the whole time I was like, nah, she's gonna punch him. She's gonna punch him in the mouth, like just right at the last second. Like, she's gonna do something. She's gonna hold up. No, she didn't. She kissed him. She gave in. And I'm like, everything that we've known about Kate from this point, yes, she's always going to make the right decision, but she's also not going to put herself in this sort of dangerous position without having a way out. Like, I don't know. That's just, she's a criminal. She's thought about things like this. So I don't believe that that's how that should have played out. I think that's just 100% just a dude writing, being like, this, like, he wrote that in. He was like, oh yeah, this is real good. This is real good, guys. And they're like, oh yeah, good job. And then they just went on.
Yeah, it's interesting because that's what I was thinking too. I don't know a lot about the writers behind the scenes. Of course, I know a lot about the showrunners. There's a lot of writers who have gone on to do good stuff or who are already established and came into work in the show, but I don't know like everyone else, you know.
Yeah.
Um, so that's something. Actually, I'll try and do that for next week. I want to learn more about who the writers were, especially in the first season. But that's what I was thinking. Like, I'm very conflicted because on one hand, I do agree with you. It seems like a very guy thing to write for a character, basically for Kate.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that seems like a dude move. Like, okay, yeah, this is what it's gonna take, or whatever. But at the same time, everything we're seeing in this episode is Sawyer's bringing out the worst in everybody. Everybody loses. Like, well, like we were saying, like Jack becomes savage. Saeed, the torturer, comes out of him, and for Kate, I think she still would have won by punching him at the end. And he even mentions at the end too, like everyone's been telling him this whole time, like this girl's life is in your hands. Why are you doing this? And he turns that on Kate. He's like, all it takes is a kiss, and you can save this girl. But even at the end, when Kate comes back and she figures it out, like, oh, you didn't write this letter, or I'm sorry, this letter isn't to you. You're the one who wrote it. You were a kid when you wrote this.
Mm-hmm.
She still didn't understand the context. So even at the end, after she did get more info, she still lost because he was worse than she was expecting. And when she starts to pity him, he just like snaps back. So I don't know. Like, I think the whole thing with the kiss, it's very weird. I feel like it's very Sawyer, but it's from Kate's perspective. I don't know how. I agree. Like, I don't know how it would have played out, but I still think storytelling wise, she shouldn't have won, or she still like she doesn't win. It's just
Yeah.
tough. I feel like if she punches him or something, she's still coming out on top. But
Yeah.
doesn't she punch him at some point?
Not in this episode.
No, right? Okay, it's just him and
Mm-mm.
Saeed getting in a fight.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yes, I guess thematically, that is what this episode is about Sawyer figuring out how to break people, how to push people to their limit, and so they give in to him. And so, yeah, I guess I'll agree with you on that. I also just don't think that's. I think that's maybe like the easy conclusion.
I'll meet you halfway because I will say this: um, that kiss, it had no right to be that graphic.
That's true. That is
Like,
very true.
Sawyer, of course, is loving it. Kate was either loving it or she was just selling it
Mm-hmm.
because, yeah, I mean, the camera stays on it for a while. If that was anyone else, if that had been Kate and Jack, I'm like, this is pretty hot. But
Yeah.
knowing like the animosity these two characters have towards each other, because of that, it's disturbing.
Yeah.
And it goes back to reinforce how cruel of a character Sawyer is. Now, all in all, I think they probably could have done it and sold it in a better way, like not having such a graphic, sexy kiss. Kate probably would have tried to hold back a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I think they could have done it better, but the ideas and the concepts were there. They just weren't executed properly.
Yeah.
Speaking of relationships, though, not as creepy, but equally as frustrating, Michael and Son. She goes
Oh,
up to him in the
yeah.
cave. They're whispering to each other. And of course, she's saying that she needs his help. She thinks she can help Shannon with her asthma.
Mm-hmm.
And Jin finds out and he starts shouting in Korean, and there's no response. Sun just kind of looks at him and gains her composure, stands up a little straighter, and just walks off. Like, and Michael's just, don't. He just says, don't, man. I mean it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's how the whole audience feels at that point.
Yeah.
But
It's like
that's
interesting.
interesting.
Just don't start anything, man.
Yeah. They're really kind of trying to push that Michael and Son thing.
Mm-hmm.
Especially now, since he's the only one who knows she speaks English, it kind of, not that it makes more sense, but it's just like, okay, I think it's easier to do because even if there's no romantic inklings between the two, naturally they're going to be attracted to work together
Yeah.
because they're bonded by a secret,
Yeah.
So But then, of course, in the end, yes, Sun ends up, helping Shannon. Even Jack's like impressed, and he's like, "Oh, you could live this." He has that face of like, "Why didn't I think of this?"
Yeah.
I'm not a plant man. I'm a
I'm
doctor, man.
not a plant doctor.
Yeah,
I'm a people doctor.
people doctor. So yeah, so that was really nice, and you have the shot of like Sun and Jin looking at each other from across the caves.
Mhm.
And, it's kind of hard to read Jin at this moment. It's not. I would have been nice to see like a little smile of like he's proud of her or something, but nothing. It's just, okay.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think I mean he's kind of a big mystery at this point because we don't really know him. We
Mhm.
know him from Sun's perspective, and Sun fell in love with this, like optimistic, guy, this like very caring, affectionate guy. And then she just had to see him sort of lose that over the years to the point where she's going to leave him because, she didn't feel safe around him. But, we've only really seen him sort of be like awkward or charming with other people
Mhm.
while they're on the island, never with Sun.
Yeah.
So
Anything with
I
Sun
think
that
I
was
think
positive was a flashback.
exactly. So I think any sort of like smirk or half smile like from that, I think that kind of just misses the point that like Sun doesn't know her husband,
Mhm.
Jin also doesn't know his wife, So like her constantly like in like the last episode or something where like he's just like, "Oh, what are you wearing?" And she's just wearing her blouse, and she's like, "Oh, it's just too hot. It's too hot in here." Like that's a big deal for him because it's like, one, she's sort of like speaking up against something that he's trying to say, he wants her to do, and then now she's still off, talking with this guy, like,
Yeah.
yeah. So I think, I think
Talking
that
with the
moment
guy
was,
who took an axe to him after he beat. Yeah, it's just
yeah.
like,
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, yeah, I'm very interested and excited to see Jin's episode,
mhm.
so we can find out more about this guy.
Yeah.
Because yeah, at this point we know that there is some kind of good person underneath,
Mhm.
but it's just
Yeah.
where will it come from? Where will it go?
As of right now, just from what we know, it seems like the kind of old world like toxic masculinity,
Right.
because we know bringing her father more into their lives by the two of them, Sun and Jin, getting married, that started changing Jin, and it added this whole new layer of like violence. Whatever his job is, it's violent.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's just that kind of, and that's what's even worse. Like with Sawyer, you could just say this guy's an asshole.
Yeah.
Jin, we can say that, but it's just like it seems like it's just the old world mentality. And that's
Mm-hmm.
something else. Like you're talking about the way someone's thinking, okay,
Mm-hmm.
how do we change that or get them on the right path? So it's gonna be really interesting as the series goes on to see, like you said, his side of that flashback,
Right.
of being with Sun. Um, and then for the nicer relationships, we see a lot more with Charlie and Claire.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man.
Man, okay, see, talking about bad writing versus good writing,
Yeah.
things that don't work and things that do. The kiss between Kate and Sawyer, I guess it works in that it makes everybody sort of uncomfortable and
Yeah.
it's disturbing. But Charlie finding the peanut butter and having that moment with Claire,
Yeah.
that was so touching. That was so
Yeah.
cute. And I was like, yeah, Kat was watching it.
Mhm.
She was partially watching it with me. And when that moment happened, she was like, oh, that's really nice.
I
Yeah.
feel like I don't know who wrote this, but in lesser hands, like that could have come off as like really creepy, because Charlie is very, um, he's kind of in a domineering role with Claire,
Mm-hmm.
but the way it's being written, it's like it's more from the sense of care. Like he doesn't want to control her; he really is really concerned about her. You
Yeah.
know, And they have this connection. Maybe it's because I don't know the age difference. I don't know. Maybe they're similar ages. Maybe
Yeah.
it's her adorable Aussie accent. You got it. They're coming from Australia. You got to have one Australian survivor. You
At
know?
least, yeah.
Yeah, like it's really well done, that relationship, so far anyway. To
Mhm.
see how it's kind of blossoming, and it's like they're not trying to hide it. You know, all the
Yeah.
hints are there. The writers are putting it there. Like they're hinting at this. It's Jack and Kate from episode one. Like, you know, there's sexual tension here. Charlie
Mhm.
and Claire, it's more like there's just this adorable connection, and we're rooting for them. I'm
Yeah.
trying to keep up with the slogans of the kids, so I'll say that they're the what is it? OTP, right?
Yeah.
One true
Yeah.
pairing.
Yeah. One true pairing.
Yeah, Charlie and Claire, OTP.
Oh my god.
Oh man, I'm trying, dude. I also learned Bay stands for before all, no, before anyone else. BAE.
Yes.
So anyway, I'll come back to that in a second.
How old are you?
I'm trying, man. Technically, I'm a millennial. Um,
I mean, I
but
am too. So,
yeah, so I'm trying to keep it with the kids. I think I looked it up. I think your freshman year of high school has to be in the 2000s.
okay.
That considers you a millennial.
Okay. Yeah.
So both of us are. I was
Yeah.
2001. So
Yeah. I
I'm
don't want to
trying
do
to
the
stay
math on
hip, man, but it ain't working.
that.
So, okay, and then the other one was Shannon and Boone. For the first time, we actually see them like really caring for each other.
Yeah.
Even if it took the extreme scenario, you know, if there's no conversations between the two all episode. Boone is being as controlling as ever, but you see that it is out of a sense of care.
Mhm.
Shannon cares for Boone. It might just be out of a sense of sheer panic, like she thinks she's going to suffocate to death.
Mhm.
But it was really nice for once to see them not squabbling.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, you know, that's I think we would know that better than anyone. That's sometimes that's how siblings are, you know. At one moment, we really can't stand each other, don't want to see your face,
And the next
but
moment, I have to save you from an asthma attack.
yeah, yeah, exactly. You know, but it's what my point mostly is that I think at least from Shannon's perspective, like there's nobody else on this island who cares
Yeah.
for her, who knows her the way that her brother does.
Mhm.
And in a moment like that where she like could potentially die, having somebody that you know is better than having anybody else, you
Mhm.
know, by your side. So yeah, I think that moment was kind of perfect when Saeed came to get bandages, uh, and Boone asked him like, "Hey, whose blood is that?" He's like, "It's Sawyer's." And he's gonna run off with Saeed. He's like, "You went after him without me," and he's
Yeah.
gonna follow him. And then Shannon just like call doesn't really call out, but you know she uses all her energy to just tell Boone like, "Please don't leave me alone."
Mhm.
It's like, yeah, like we're still everybody on this island is still strangers. We're like a week into this crash,
Mhm.
and yeah, nobody really knows anybody else. So yeah, I really liked that moment. And yeah, finally, it's just on a selfish level, it's like finally they're not squabbling with each other. You know,
Mhm.
I get it. Yes, siblings do fight, but also we can really care about each other. So if you and I get crashed on an island, I'm never leaving your side. I'll be like, nope, I'm
I
going
know
with
we're
my brother.
stuck. We're stuck together, man.
Yep,
But you see, I think we also trust each other as well.
that's
I know
true.
we work
We're
better as a
weird
team.
siblings. Yeah.
So, I'm looking up the lost timeline right now. This is day 9.
Okay.
So it's
All right.
about a
Over
week and
a
a
week.
half
Yeah.
after the crash. Um, but yeah, that's a big moment for Boone because we've talked about it before. Like, he's hot headed, man. He really acts before he thinks or he overthinks.
Yeah.
So yeah, I understand. Like, he would be the first to go after Sawyer.
Hmm.
But the fact that he stayed with Shannon is a good moment for them. You know,
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
siblings.
It says a lot about him too. So.
Hmm. But yeah, so this episode was very much relationship heavy and or teasing, and also I think it's going back to, Locke's talk about light and darkness, and then the stones that Jack found, the black and the white. We
Yeah.
saw two sides of pretty much all, like, our main leads, this character or this episode. Jack, Saeed, Kate, and Sawyer. Well,
Mm-hmm.
not really Sawyer. We saw a moment of hope for Sawyer in a flashback, and that was it.
Mm-hmm.
But everyone else, you see both sides. And even Kate. Actually, Kate wasn't that bad. We didn't see anything. We just saw how wrong she was.
Yeah.
But really, the doctor and the soldier, you see both sides of them in this episode.
I have a question.
Uh-huh.
Sawyer's flashback.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not gonna get into, any of like the hows and whys. I don't know anything about conning people out of money. But when Sawyer sees the kid and he's like paralyzed with fear, is that his kid?
No, it's just a kid.
See, I don't know about that, because that kid had like dirty blonde hair.
He looked like little Josh Holloway.
Bright blue eyes, yeah, and he didn't really look anything like his dad. So I just sort of thought that, like,
yeah,
wait a second, is that why he's not doing this? Because that's his kid, and he's like freaked out that, like, oh wow, I got a kid now, like, or something like that. Like, I don't know. I was just a little confused by that. If it is that it's just like, oh, there's this kid involved, and that relates back to me thematically because of my troubled trauma past, and yeah, I'm not going to do this. Like, yeah, okay.
And that's what Sawyer eventually explains at the end. Like, he became Sawyer. He didn't just take his name. Like, he ended up becoming him. He ended up doing the same cons that destroyed his family.
Yeah.
So I guess supposedly there were no kids in this point. Like, he was getting away with it until this one family, and he sees that they have a kid, and that's why he kind of took off. And he didn't even, he left the money, man. So that, that loan shark guy is going to be after him as well. I was like, oh, dude, all you had to do was hold on to the briefcase.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's all you had to do.
Yeah, man. That's why you don't be a con artist.
Yeah.
But if we go back and look at the mid-2000s television show Hustle on BBC, the main rule number one of a good con, you can't con an honest man.
Dang.
And I love that. I just love that concept. And that show came out after Lost, so I didn't know it at the time on my first watch. But thinking about that, yeah, it's really good. Like, it makes sense. You can't, at least you can, thieves, you can steal from people all the time. But for con artists, it's about making the other person meet you halfway.
Mm-hmm.
They have to be willing to bend some rules, break some laws. Kind of like what Sawyer was saying. If they put the money in their trunk and drive home, there's a little bit of hope that they just might be able to be an outlaw.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, yeah, like everyone has to make that choice. Yes, Sawyer was going to steal money from both of them, the husband and wife, but both the husband and wife were breaking some laws to do it. So I think that's I should have, don't feel bad for the family.
Oh, no, I don't. No,
I don't feel bad for the kid, because the family still probably broke apart after that.
Yeah, probably. I'm also, well, I mean, he left all the money there, so they could just easily take it and like skip town or something.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah. But yeah, no, like, I don't feel bad for Sawyer. I only feel bad for the kid. I'm also just a little jealous. Like, damn, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money that they invested into that. Wish I had that money to just throw around in some shady oil investment.
Jeez, I know,
man. But we live in Texas. How come we don't have that money
too? Like, that might have been all their money or a big portion of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, they have Sawyer's money, so technically the loan shark's money. So
they probably stay together in a very like hostile relationship, and the kid's gonna grow up to be a jerk.
Yeah.
Thanks, Sawyer.
Thanks, Sawyer. Yeah. There you go. Just ruining families.
So, quick little note. Hurley hasn't been given a lot to do so far in the show. Yeah. He's just kind of helping here and there. He had a moment with Charlie where Charlie's like referencing his weight.
Yeah.
I was like, oh man, I
I
felt
was
so
waiting
bad for
for that.
Hurley.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
was waiting for that,
yeah. But I like what
I
he
was-
said. He's like, dude, I'm down one belt one belt notch, and I was like,
yeah.
there you go, Hurley. You're doing your best, man.
Yeah.
You're awesome. So
Yeah. I thought that was cool. I also liked this moment when Jack is helping Shannon breathe, like doing like the breathing exercises.
yeah.
Then he like goes to run off to like face Sawyer, and Hurley's just like, dude, that was like a Jedi moment.
Yep, that's our first Star Wars reference on Lost.
Yes, we got to tally them up.
Yeah, right. Oh man, I guess you could count Dominic Monaghan because he was in Rise of Skywalker.
That's not a Star Wars reference.
But
You
it's a
can't
Star
have
Wars
an.
connection.
You
Okay, so
can't.
there's a difference between references and connection.
Yes, that's what
J.J.
I mean.
Abrams also directed a few of them, so there is an eventual connection.
Why are you just telling me this like I don't know?
Dude, did you know
Oh my god,
there are actually 9 Skywalker movies
I hate you.
and a couple of spin-offs? So,
Uh,
which I still haven't seen Han Solo.
you still haven't seen Solo?
No, I mean I got Disney Plus, but I'm just like I was just so uninterested in the trailers in that movie from everything everyone told about me. Like I don't know. I'll watch it eventually when I run out of
What?
stuff.
What? Everyone? I told you that it was fine. I liked
You
it.
told me that it was fine. Everyone else says that it's crap.
Yeah, and who do you believe? Everybody else, or
That's
your
true.
baby brother?
Speaking of not believing other people, Lost. We've mentioned it before. Lost got a lot of flack, those last couple of seasons, especially kind of the way it ends.
Mm-hmm.
Last night,
Oh.
I'm listening to Spotify.
Uh-oh.
I'm reading. I forgot what I was reading, but there was an article about a fan theory about Hurley, which I can't talk to you about because you haven't seen the rest of the show.
Why even bring
However,
it up then?
because I like to tease you with mysteries that may or may not pay off.
Oh, great. Well, I'm already
Just
teased
like
enough
Damon
because
Lindelof.
we're watching Lost.
So anyway, I click that article and then I see another Lost one. I see another Lost one. And it's all these really cool Lost articles that were all written this summer. Oh,
Oh, wow.
okay. I think it was Polygon. It's really interesting because they were talking about how a lot of people's view of Lost has changed.
Mhm.
When it ended, you had the fans who liked it and you had the fans who didn't. Lindelof claims if you didn't like the end of Lost, chances are you stopped liking Lost way before the ending because there was nothing so groundbreaking or revealing that changed everything at the end. Everything was leading up to it.
Right.
But now Damon Lindelof has such an interesting and fascinating career, and after Watchmen and The Leftovers, people are going back and watching his other stuff like fresh eyes, and a lot of people who originally hated the ending of Lost, they're really digging it now. And so there's like several articles like pointing out certain things in this series. They're like, oh look, this is like foreshadowing the end, or this is foreshadowing a certain plot line later on. I'm like, yeah, no shit, like that's what Lost is all about. And I don't remember if it was episode 2 or 3, but we talked about that, how Lost is the show, for all the shit everyone gives it, Lost is the show as a creator, as an artist, that you want to be a part of, because it should have never been made. They got way too much money and they're like, okay, let's turn something out in a month. They didn't even have characters, or they had characters, but they said, you know what? We like this actor so much, we're throwing out this character and we're going to write this person someone. As an actor, that's what you dream of. They wrote a character for me. Holy crap.
Yeah.
So a lot of people give Lost flack for quote unquote making it up as they go. But to me, that's the beauty of it. They had this solid 2-episode pilot. J.J. Abrams came in and like blew it away. And he's like, all right, peace. He kind of helped Lindelof plot out the first season, but he was out for the most part.
Yeah.
So it was Lindelof and Carlton Cuse who kind of had to pick up everything and figure out where they're going. And then, of course, by a certain point, they decide what their ending wants to be, so they start building to that. And now a lot more people are starting to they're solving the mystery of Lost. They're like, oh, okay. The fact that they didn't know what they were doing and making up as they went actually was the cause of a lot of the coolest stuff in Lost.
Mm-hmm.
And then when they did figure out where they're going, a lot of cool stuff happened, because they had control. So that's all just teasers for the show. As we go on, I'll bring stuff up because also now, 10 years after it's ended, a lot is coming out about ABC. And I mean, this is 2004, ABC. They're just like any other studios.
Yeah.
They wanted Lost until it stopped making money. They had a 10-year plan for Lost. The
Oh,
creators
wow.
didn't. ABC did. So that right there should kind of show you like what was going on behind the scenes, between the producers and the creators, and that really sums up a lot. But it's crazy, man. It's nuts.
See, like, that's the thing. Nobody knows what they're doing.
Right.
Nobody knows what they're doing. Everybody's just making everything up as they go along. So like giving, this might just be me like projecting, and this, obviously maybe I'll have a different opinion by the end of I don't know, this series, but nobody knows what they're doing. So when they get an idea and everybody sort of is just like, hey, that's actually a good idea. Like, maybe we should do that. Like, yeah, sure, let's go. And then they do it and then it works. Holy crap. Like that's such a great feeling, and with something like Lost that, again, shouldn't have ever gotten made, was given way too much money up front, and then became, for some unfathomable reason, this global phenomenon for 6 years.
Yeah.
That's insane. That's baffling. People dream about doing that stuff now. We want that. That's kind of what we want, all of our favorite shows now to be, especially in this era when there's so much content out there. There's so many things going on, so many different streaming services that, they're just throwing it on. It's really going to be interesting seeing what that sort of global phenomenon looks like now, post Game of Thrones, and with this inclusion of all of these different streaming services. Everybody wants the next Game of Thrones. They want the next Lost. They want something that's going to capture people's attention and make people constantly come back. And it's like, I'm sorry, guys, that's everybody making it up, because nothing is guaranteed.
Yeah.
Shows that we thought were a guaranteed success, they either end up canceled or they end. And maybe they had another 2 or 4 seasons, in them. But that's kind of the thing about the MCU. Like, yeah, they had a plan.
Yeah.
But there was no guarantee that it was gonna work. And then, yeah, maybe they had a few missteps along the way, but they learned from that. And then we got Infinity War and Endgame, and now we're gonna get more. It's like there's all these things that, everybody's just making it up as they go.
Yeah.
So,
and that's why most shows and movies and everything, you have pre-production.
Yeah.
Even if you're a writer, it's just called writing, outlining, whatever, however you do it.
Yeah.
Theater, you have someone's got to write it. You have to do your rehearsals. Everything, most shows, they have several, well, unless they do a pilot and it's successful, but you have several episodes written before you film like the first episode. But there was just so little time, for Lost. Yeah, I don't know. And I think we mentioned it a few episodes ago. There was like a 2-month turnaround once the show got up and running, from like writing to airtime. It was super short because the pilot was so last minute. And then I think, season 2 and on, it had a more normal, typical Hollywood TV schedule.
Yeah.
Um, but it was event television, and that's something I feel like we're slowly losing after Game of Thrones,
Hmm.
because Game of Thrones pulled in everyone, man. So I don't think like the event television or the water cooler television shows, I don't think they're going to die off necessarily, or if they do, it's still going to be some time. But
Hmm.
we're starting to see that slowly happening. You
Hmm.
know, no one knows. Nothing has really stepped up to the plate since Game of Thrones. And also, a problem too is like the event television keeps getting bigger and bigger. So for something to be considered an event, it needs to be even bigger. Because I mean, there's great television out there, and there is event television for certain genres and fandoms,
Sure.
but
Sure.
nothing that's like global. That's what
Hmm.
Lost was. That's what Game of Thrones was. Breaking Bad, maybe Mad Men
Yeah.
for a short period of time.
Oddly enough, I feel like Chernobyl was one of those too.
Kind of, yeah, yeah, yeah. It's kind of tough because it was just like a mini series.
Hmm.
It's easier to do events with something that's shorter. You know,
Right.
it's
Right.
less of a TV show. It's more of like an event movie. Because of course, what's the big events now? You said it, MCU.
Yeah.
You know, so for television events to get global people watching all at once, or well, I guess now you can. I don't know. Is TiVo still a thing? You can still record it or just watch it later.
You're asking me? I have no
I
idea.
don't know, right? So I don't know. But there's so much content. There's so many different premium subscriptions. Like, oh, can't watch this unless I got
Hmm.
Amazon. Can't watch this unless I have HBO Max. You know,
Or
that's
Disney
kind of
Plus.
starting to break up that global audience and split everyone.
Hmm.
So I don't know what the future of these global events are going to look at. Maybe the Lord of the Rings show, but they just announced, Sam, it might have boobies. And everyone's like, whoa, 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 slow
Yeah.
your roll, man. Like,
Yeah.
we don't need that. We don't need that. You know? I'm like,
Yeah, man.
come on, Amazon. What are you what? Like what? Why? Like, why is that even news? Why would you reveal that?
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, honestly, yeah, it's a
It's such a bizarre piece of info to drop to promote your show.
I was never gung ho for a Lord of the Rings show from Amazon.
Yeah.
That news drop just makes me less excited. I think that's the opposite of the reaction they wanted.
I know.
You know, it's like I'm sorry, there's not that many female characters in this, so like,
Mhm. Yeah.
you know,
So you're
yeah,
gonna write them just to take clothes off? Like I don't understand.
yeah.
I don't know.
Or they're gonna be more like are they gonna be gay relationships? That's fine,
Yeah.
but I also know that's gonna upset a portion of fandoms. You know,
Yeah.
all that. But I just that's such an odd that's such an odd thing to just be like, hey, we're casting people who are comfortable with nudity for this show that's got a lot of elves and dwarves and
Yeah.
wizards.
Oh
Like,
man.
okay,
But if there is, I want it to be equal. I'm all about equality. So if we get naked elves prancing through the forest,
naked
they better
hobbits.
show some naked dwarves. All
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
Let's just be honest. We need equality.
yeah. Wow, this conversation really
This
went
really
off
went
the
off track,
rails.
and I'm not going to cut it. I'm going to leave this in because this is premium. Most people pay, Patreon subscriptions for this kind of content.
I
So
know we're
this
giving
is
this away for
free.
free.
You're welcome. Um,
Maybe we should. It is Cyber Monday. Maybe we should start charging people for
oh
this.
yeah, Cyber
This
Monday.
episode you have to pay for.
Yeah. Oh god. So the episode ends with the beautiful song from the Blind Boys of Alabama,
Mm,
I Shall Not Walk Alone.
mm.
This is how I discovered them back in 2004. They're such a powerful singers. But the show ends with Saeed leaving. He tells Kate, he's like, what I almost did, I basically almost killed a man today, and I promised I would never do that again. Yeah, man, he like John Wicked him without being provoked. I mean, he technically was provoked, but his dog wasn't killed. It was
Yeah,
he didn't have to go that far.
yeah.
And yeah, so Saeed leaves after taking Kate's hand and kissing it. God, like, I ship those two, man. Kate and Saeed, like, they're such a good combo. Saeed is Bay. There you go. I used it.
Yes.
I used the
Wow.
kids.
Congratulations.
But yeah, man, he walks off into the sunset to go map the island. I was like, damn it, Saeed. Farewell for now. For now.
For
So
now.
yeah, I really wish Naveen Andrews has been was cast in more stuff. Like I
I
think
know.
he's there's like a I don't know, like as far as actors go, there's just like this sense of class about him. You know, like this is a gentleman. You know,
Yeah.
this is a gentleman thespian lord. I don't know. Yeah, I really wish he was in more stuff.
Yeah, man. Writers, creators, if you're out there and you need a kick-ass leading man for any project, for your next indie, for your next big blockbuster, for your next prestige drama on TNT or whatever, Naveen Andrews, give him a call.
Yeah, a lot of people in the show are just phenomenal actors, and I feel like they kind of get written off as just TV actors. Okay, because this is something we need to take into account too. This is before big name actors were doing TV.
Oh,
There was a
yes.
few here and there, but now you turn on any streaming service and you're going to see like an A-list celebrity leading a television series.
Yeah.
You know, that was unheard of in 2004. And those are kind of like the little things I'm trying to keep in mind when doing this, just to kind of remember where we were as a society and what was the content at the time when this was happening. Any conversations like this about Lost were happening in person because this was still pre-Facebook. Like we had MySpace for sure in 2004. But yeah, this is like Facebook was still like college only at this point.
Yeah.
You know, Twitter was like a thought. So this is before we had online fandoms. This is before the nerds inherited the world and realized that, hey, we're not alone. This is just a bunch of people chatting on forums, maybe on their dial-up internet. Yeah, that was kind of like the end of days of like the dial-up, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, like that also lends itself to like how big the show was, that it kind of brought this fandom together. And as the seasons gone on or went on, it got more interactive. As the internet advanced, so did like the Lost marketing campaign, all of that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing. So so MVPs.
Oh, wow. You go first.
I know who I wanted to pick, so I don't know if you are, but I won't go with my choice. I'll actually go with okay, fine. I feel like the easy choice is Josh Holloway because he did amazing. He did fantastic. But I really, really want to give it to Naveen Andrews again.
Yeah.
Because Saeed, like, he had to bring it. He had to be brutal in order to feel the gravity of the situation. Even when he brings it up to Jack gave what I'm calling the Matthew Fox face. Because it wasn't the Jack Shepherd face.
Yeah.
It was Matthew Fox, like, post-Lost, trying to make it through Hollywood. There's just like this menace in his eyes, like, do it. Torture him, you know? Like, oh, man. And then, of course, Saeed's last scene with Kate, you know, telling her goodbye. I was like, oh, man. Yeah. Gentleman actor, Naveen Andrews, which I think he is our first repeat. No, I think Terry O'Quinn, we gave it to him twice already.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Naveen Andrews is up there in the top tier with him.
That's true. We're gonna have to start taking tallies. So by the end,
I'm writing them all down.
Who had the most MVPs? Yeah.
Yeah. We'll give him I don't know, a Lost award. We lost it. Sorry.
We'll find out by then.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you know, I think you're right. Because like, again, this comes back to like how everybody's episodes have been showing like a different side of them, have been showcasing more of something of like who they were, something in their past, like, and you know, unfortunately, that just didn't really happen for Sawyer this episode. Like, it was just sort of, it was him being maybe a little classier about what he's doing just because of the type of people he's conning. But we already knew he was a con man, so we're just seeing him sort of thrive in his element, in his flashback, and we're getting like bits of layers from him. So like I'll get like second place, taking the silver home. Sure, Josh Holloway for his own episode, unfortunately,
Yeah,
but
I think that has to do less with him, more of the writing. He
yeah, for
wasn't.
sure.
He did great with what they gave him, but they
Mhm.
didn't give him a lot.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I'm gonna side with you, and I'm gonna give it to Naveen Andrews because this isn't like a culmination of a character arc, but
Mhm.
this was a very key episode because it's sort of like we've seen Saeed try and try and try to get something done. He needs to do something with his time because he doesn't want to just sit around on the island. He wants to get home. He wants to get out of there. And that seemingly just keeps getting thwarted. So for now, he's going to go off, map the island, and yeah, his reasonings for that are, I don't know, just the way he performs it was, like you said, very classy, and it really gets to you. Yeah, feel like more than anyone, he sort of changed out and grew out of this episode. So Naveen
Yeah.
Andrews, my MVP.
Lastly, I will not really MVP, but I'm definitely giving a shout out to the props / FX guys because when Sawyer gets stabbed through the arm, ooh, it
Oh
looked
yeah.
cool. Okay, actually, I'll take this back. It looked cool, but what looked cooler was Jack putting pressure on it. He sticks his thumb into the knife wound to try and hold the artery down. And I'm
Uh-huh.
like, oh, it's just like a split second, but his thumb is in Sawyer's arm. I'm like, ugh, oh god. Ugh. It was
And
nuts.
this
Like it looked real, like blood everywhere. I'm like, yes, that's awesome. You know?
and this, good listeners, is why my brother is not a doctor.
Uh-huh. Stick my thumb where? So yeah, so shout out to that person. And one last thing I want to say before we wrap this up. We've been doing a lot of talking about the characters because the show's been focusing on the characters and their stories. It's been a couple episodes since we've really had something dealing with the island or like the mysteries of the island. It's all been character based,
Mm-hmm.
The creature, whatever's making noise out there. Can't even remember the last time we heard it. You know,
That's true.
until, or I don't know, but I think that's perfectly setting up next week's episode, Lost, Season 1, Episode 9, Solitary. All I'll say is Saeed explores the island.
Oh wow.
That's
Okay.
it. That's literally it. I mean, anything else, I think it's kind of cool because just like all the previous episodes, they lead into each other, and this one is really setting up Saeed's next step,
Mm-hmm.
especially with that ending. So we'll get to see some of his flashbacks. But I think him going off on his own with no other characters leaves it open to kind of like, okay, well, what's out there?
Mm-hmm.
What's he going to discover? What's going to happen? So I think it's kind of overdue since we get more into the actual island story or features, if I may. So
Okay.
let's see what Saeed finds next week.
Hmm.
But until then, have a happy Cyber Monday. And you can find me on the Twitter at _Matt Jimenez. Sam, where you at?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Reel, that's REEL, Texas Weirdo.
So, to everyone out there except Saeed, get lost.